Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Crimes of the Future. David Cronenberg is back, doing sci-fi body horror, and don't know if everybody's ready for this. I certainly wasn't, but this new film from David Cronenberg, who previously over the past 20 years had taken a shift in his career, and Viggo Mortensen became his muse. He did films like History of Violence and Eastern Promises and A Dangerous Method. And now he's bringing Viggo Mortensen back, but also bringing back his body horror science fiction elements as well that made him such a household name for cinephiles in terms of The Fly and Scanners and Videodrome. And this is in the not-so-distant future where we live in a synthetic environment because climate change, and there's strange evolutionary tracks happening to humanity. Some people develop new organs, and others begin consuming artificial food, and or doesn't even, I guess, well, if you eat it, I guess it's food. And where people in general have lost pain, and now people can just have surgeries while completely awake. And of course people have turned that into an art form, and also the new flesh, and people have sexual escapades that are no longer traditional sex but dealing with surgical procedures. And I feel like what captures this element perfectly is the fact that at one point in this movie, somebody offers up oral sex to an incision in somebody's abdomen, and that turns them both on. I'm just like, these are some kinks. This is interesting, and very uncomfortable. And as somebody who hates needles and sharp objects and all kinds of stuff, this is quite unnerving, watching people for sexual pleasure laying there and allowing like these grotesque machines that are straight out of like an H.R. Geiger concept art just cutting incisions down their whole bodies, and they're getting off on it, and you're just like, well, Cronenberg, you know how to push my buttons, and they have indeed been pushed. And from those kinds of elements, like, this is really effective. Like, David Cronenberg is a talented director and builds that tension, and it's quite unnerving. I think the biggest flaw of this film is that it really, really does, and like, this is oversaid a lot, but like, this really does try way too much. Like, there's so many ideas and so many commentaries, and just, even from the list of strange and different things that I mentioned at the beginning of this review, from synthetic organs and synthetic food to people losing pain and other people's growing organs, and people turning this whole surgery thing into like an art form. Like, I'm sure one of the biggest and most memorable things is what people see is like the dude with like 30 ears. And it also has commentary on the art world, because like Viggo Mortensen's character Saul Tenser and his partner Caprice, played by Seydoux, they're like high art form performers, and like he's really catty and dismissive of this guy dancing around with his 30 ears, like criticizing like, this is low art. And it's just like, oh my god, this is the kind of commentary we're getting in this film. It's going there. And that's not the only kind of commentary. Like, there's bureaucracy here, and you even have like Kristen Stewart's Timlin, who is a bureaucrat who's involved here, and Kristen Stewart's going full-blown Kristen Stewart. All the quirks, all the weird little tics and stuff like that. And he's just like fangirl, like just becoming this giant fan, and like acting out like really obnoxiously about their love for Tenser and Caprice. And you have all those kinds of elements. You have all these bureaucracies, you have these investigations, you have conspiracies and organizations and government and all these things, and it all crammed into an hour and 47-minute film. And the characters don't have a whole lot of depth in terms of characterization, but these actors really show up to play. Léa Seydoux has this just way about her, and she brings a tenderness and a sultriness to this relationship with Tenser, and Viggo Mortensen has his own bit of quirks and strange actions and like graveled voice, and he's constantly having problems with his digestive tract and his respiratory tract, and he's like having trouble breathing. It's always like adjusting his throat and like all these weird little things, and Viggo Mortensen is just so pitch perfect in it. It feels so very genuine and realized, and you have all these elements and twists and turns and people playing others, others working with others, and just all these kinds of things that come to play in this, and all this commentary, but Cronenberg's still always able to create an atmosphere and an experience that is striking. This is very visually satisfying, and Howard Shore's score just lays down so much tension and just atmosphere around this film. This is quite the experience, and it's not going to be for everybody. I am sure there's going to be plenty of people who are just like, what the F was this? I do not need this in my life, and why the hell did I watch this? Probably should have looked up those David Cronenberg and probably should have expected that. But this is strangely darkly funny, and there's just this edge to it that just creates this unique and very specific experience, and I was down for a decent amount. There's something special and intriguing about this experience, even if it is a bit overstuffed and overdone. But by the end, you're just like, I can think of very few films that I've had quite this experience with, and it's a bit of greatest hits of Cronenberg. So if you're a big fan, especially of his initial works, this is something for you. But those are my thoughts on Crimes of the Future. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.